Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of VCTV by LATOKEN. My name is Carol Zurita. I am the LATOKEN VCTV manager here in Singapore. And today I'm not alone. I am with a nice panel of investors and leaders discussing today's topic, which is about investment in plant-based food to decrease the carbon dioxide emissions. This is a very trendy topic. A little bit about fact. It's a very trendy topic, and that is because of the pandemic of starting last year, 2019, based on Forbes magazine, Americans, for example, American family started eating at home 40% more than regular other years, and that is to avoid the exposure to the virus. So because of that, and also because of stopping people from going to work, the whole transportation and stuff, and other reasons to create that CO2 that we've been having in past years, the whole world is looking into decreasing those CO2 emissions that we've been seeing for the last years. And today we're going to discuss about that. We have experts in the industry who will be giving us more advice on that, and as well more support for startups who are running their projects towards solutions to decrease the emission of carbon dioxide. Welcome everyone, and without further ado, let me introduce you to the panelists today. And we have Tushar. Hello, Tushar. Thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us about your company and how you can help them?
Thank you, Carol. It's my pleasure to be on the show today with you and William and Himendra. So I've been coming on the show since I think it's the third or fourth month, and I enjoy it every time. My background is almost 20 plus years in corporate finance. I handled the private equity practice at Deloitte and Touche. Also was a part of the team which invested around $100 million in the company Brand Capital, which is owned by Times of India. And I was director of treasury at MTS India, the Russian telecom company's India unit. I raised almost $2.5 billion of debt for the company, and was CFO with Guggenheim, with a company owned by Guggenheim Partners. In the last 6 years, I managed two companies. One is Consultancy Ventures, and the other one is Saffron First. Saffron First is an angel network of 38 high net worth individuals. And the Consultancy Ventures is an advisory firm which advises on debt, venture capital, all kinds of equity, and mergers and acquisitions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tushar, and welcome one more time. It's always really a pleasure to have you today. Thank you. Let's move on to William. Welcome back, and introduce yourself to the audience, and the same, let us know how you can help more startups.
Hi, good evening for those who are in Asia. My name is William Du from Argos Group. Okay, so 4 months ago, I was invited by my longtime friend to join his venture. Okay, at first I thought agriculture, I'm not really in it. Okay, because I have no clue how is it done. But after some explanation and how he bring in the sustainability and also food safety, food security, I get hooked to it. Okay, and just below 4 months, I see from when the container from the port goes to our site, and within just 4 weeks, okay, we are able to harvest already, okay, and deliver vegetables to our nearest eateries and also to our friends. Okay, so that encourage us, okay, to move to the next level. We want to scale it up, okay, and we are actually looking at areas that we can, of course, supply to our urban neighborhood. And also, if you look at the environmental factors, okay, now I'm very sure that vertical farm or urban farm actually do reduce a lot of environmental pollution. Okay, and from the tests we have done in our farms, we use actually 95% less water. Okay, you always see reports stating that. Okay, and because Malaysians are also getting into plant-based food now. Okay, although it's still new. Okay, it's still a new concept, but there's a small group of people actually encouraging that. And we can see a lot of vegans and vegetarian restaurants, okay, that pops up, okay, and they actually serve very, very good and nutritious food. So what we want to do now is to scale up our production so that we can reach all these eateries and homes, okay, from farm to plate within 2 hours from harvest. All right, thank you very much.
Very interesting. Thank you, William. Very interesting. And actually, it feels like from decreasing emission of carbon dioxide, we're also joining the part of like better eating, clean food, and so on. So it's like it's not just a part, but it's how it all ends up being together. So thank you so much. We're gonna be developing more about that a little bit later. And we have Hemendra.
Cycle third hai aur ek aur
Hemendra,
bhi hai
hi. How are you today? Good to see you. It's been a while that we have you back in LATOKEN VCTV. Welcome back. Introduce yourself, please, and let us know and the startups.
ठीक है हाँ please thank you so much ये ना show होता है actually
I think Tushar is having his mic on. Tushar, can you hear us? Can you please turn that off? All right, Hemendra, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, Carol, thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be a part of this panel, and great to have William and Tushar as well on the panel. So just to introduce myself, I'm an early stage investor in companies which are into AgriTech and food tech, investing in India and also overseas. I'm associated with multiple funds. One of them is Bharat Innovation Fund, which is an early stage deep tech fund investing across sectors at a pre-series A level. Apart from that, I advise quite a few international funds now looking at Indian market for investments in food and agriculture. So I think that's the primary part of work I do. I also manage a startup of my own. It's called Think Ag. Think Ag is a platform for connecting agri-tech and food tech startups with corporates, with investors, with incubators. It's a platform where we try and build these relationships so that startups get a chance to pilot their products and take it to the market. So it's been supported by about 15 odd corporates like Godrej, Gates Foundation, Rubber Foundation, Bayer, etc. Last but not the least, I do advise a few foundations and multilaterals on their strategy for agri-tech, agri-businesses, which can potentially impact smallholder farmers in India. So that's what I do. The topic which you have chosen today is a lot of interest, plant-based foods. It's an area of interest. It's still evolving in India. I think Singapore is quite ahead than what India is. But I think plant-based meats and things like that is the future, and we see a lot of potential in that. India is a different market, so I'm happy to talk about what's the potential here, what are the challenges, and if there are any startups who's looking to make entry into Indian market, want to learn a little bit more, I'm happy to help them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hemendra. So it's really good that all of our panelists today, they are related to this topic in the industry itself. And yes, I mean, globally, this new concept of plant-based food, it's getting much more traction day by day, which is really great. And that's why we're treating it today, to encourage more startups who are also looking for that solution and they need the support. So that's why we're here. Thank you so much. So now we're gonna go through the round of questions that I have prepared for you guys. And before I do that, I really want to mention publicly something that the last news have announced, that Singapore is actually the first country in the world to have approved the cell-based meat. It's not plant-based precisely, but because with this, we are avoiding the cattle growing, and also that carbon dioxide that it is that produce the cows that are producing for meat. So we are very proud of that. People who are in Singapore, we're very proud of that. And moving on to the questions, I would go through the same in the same order. William, how is meat production affecting the environment? So let's go back to that so we understand much more what's going on or what has been happening throughout the last years. So how is this meat production or the cows affecting the environment?
So this is a very scientific question. Okay. All right. I'll try to answer it. Okay. First, the waste from the cows. Okay. The amount of water used, and of course the land. Okay. A lot of people mistaken. Oh, Malaysia. Like for example, we talk about Malaysia. Okay. We have. I saw some debates when we start promoting vertical farms. Okay. A lot of people say, oh, Malaysian has ample of land. Okay, yes, in fact, it's true compared to Singapore. But if you look at the suitable land for agriculture, okay, so Malaysia is the largest producer of palm oil and rubber, or used to, okay. A lot of land are actually used for that purpose, all right. But if you look at real plantation or real soil that's suitable for agriculture, then you'll notice that there's not many choices, okay. In Malaysia, most of the farms are actually based in the highlands, Cameron Highlands. And if you look at Cameron Highlands, which is in the state of Pahang, for the last few weeks, you will notice that because of the monsoon season, okay, there's landslide, okay, there's a few places or a few roads and bridges are actually destroyed, okay, in those extreme weather, okay. So those produce of farms, okay, most of them are destroyed in the process, okay. And if you look at in deeper sense, when what happened to those feedstock, okay, so a lot of feedstock that is on those farms, okay, in the highlands or even in the lowlands are actually affected by the weather, okay. And when this happen, that will of course obviously affect the food supply chain, right? So when you come back to how is meat production affecting the environment, I would say number one is the wastage or the wastage that is discharged from the animals. Okay, they are not properly treated and it flows back to the river. Okay, and those using those same water source and some places we can see in state of Selangor for the last 1 or 2 years, there's always water pollution. Okay, from factories, from farms. Okay, that discharge their waste straight into the river. Okay, I stay in the state of Selangor. We are supposed to be the most advanced state in Malaysia. Every 2 weeks or on a monthly basis, I receive notice that water supply will be disrupted. And the worst case is we actually went for 4 days without water supply. Okay, so yes, that's also encouraged me to go into vertical farming. Okay, and also encourage plant-based food.
Yep, that is actually a very wide answer that you just provided, and pretty much tell us the whole affection that it's not only the cows growing itself, but also the whole what you mentioned, the water pollution and so on, the whole chain that is affecting us. Thank you for that, William. So Hemendra, same or similar question to you from the perspective of India. How is, considering that we have cattle grow in India as well, so how is it affecting in the carbon dioxide emission? you're still on mute. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry. No, I think that's as William also mentioned, it's a big source of GHG emission, which we need to curtail upon, and we have a large cattle population in India. We about 200 million cows. We have 100 million buffaloes, right? So that's a large population, and
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? But fortunately, in India, beef is not a big meat. Most of the Indians don't eat beef because of religious reasons, right? So most of the beef that is also exported out of India is mostly from buffaloes, which goes to Middle East, right? So as far as animal protein is concerned, the biggest source of animal protein for Indians is chicken, lamb, fish, and shrimps. Right. So I think those are the four big categories in animal protein, not as much as beef as probably in other countries. Having said that, I think there is a large section of the population which is vegetarian, and they're looking for solutions which are plant-based. And that's where I see there's a huge potential in India to develop those products. People have tried developing those products from things like soya bean, from jackfruit, from pulses. So I think they're at various stages of development. I think in India it's important to understand it. Plant-based meats, it need not be positioned as a meat substitute, right? Because our meat consumption anyway is very low. Our per capita meat consumption per year across all kinds of meat is not over 10 kgs per year per capita, which is anyway very low. I think the positioning for plant-based proteins in India has to be more around nutrition and alternate to the conventional proteins which are available. Be it milk, be it pulses, be it proteins that you get from horticultural products. So I think that's where the opportunity is, right? And that's where I see a huge potential for R&D, product development. A lot of oil seeds that are produced in India are a good source of protein. Of course, soya is the most common, but cotton seeds, castor seeds, sal seeds, a lot of other oil seeds are a great source of protein. But unfortunately, not much R&D has happened on those. The challenges around extracting those proteins in a commercial way, destabilizing the anti-nutritional factors, and improving the digestibility. I think these are the few challenges which are there as far as plant proteins are concerned. And that's why you need a strong R&D. You need teams which understands it. You need a laboratory setup, right? So I think that's one area which I feel bullish about. And because we are a protein deficient country, a per capita consumption of proteins per year is 10 per day. Per capita consumption is about 10 grams against recommended 60 grams. So we are highly protein deficient country, despite the fact that we drink a lot of milk and we have other sources of protein also, but clearly the demand is far higher than the supply. So I think alternate protein per se is an interesting area. It can be a meat substitute or it can be a protein by itself, right? So I think that's a distinction which one has to make if you're looking at the Indian market.
Okay, thank you, Hemendra. It sounds to me that going plant-based food or eating plant-based food is not only helping the environment, but also healthy. There are other options. It's about the culture, it's about the education, and moving towards that. Thank you for those insights. Tushar, so having said that and following the same thread, question is going vegan or vegetarian the solution to decrease the carbon dioxide emissions?
Yeah, Carol, very good question. Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So if you look at there are many seminars which I used to attend, and in one of the seminars, a very prominent spiritual person here, Sadhguru, he said that, he proved that the human body is actually made for consuming vegetarian food. So there can be many views about this. I'm not getting into that, but let us take some statistics. Feeding massive amounts of grain and water to farmed animals and then killing them and processing, transporting, and storing their flesh is extremely energy intensive. And that's what we are talking about. We are talking about those gases like carbon dioxide, like methane and nitrous oxide, which do a lot of harm to the environment and which increase the temperature on Earth. If you talk about carbon dioxide, burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide. Takes on average about 11 times as much fossil fuel to produce a calorie of animal protein as it does to produce a calorie of grain protein. Considerably more carbon dioxide is released. So there was a research at the University of Oxford which found that not eating meat by up to 73%. And if all people worldwide were to stop eating meat products, the area of land used for global agriculture could be reduced by around 75%. And the remaining agriculture land would be sufficient to feed the world's population, according to that research. And the loss of natural habitat due to agriculture is the main cause of the current mass extinction of wildlife. So vegan, a lot of people are going vegan. I feel a vegan diet is the best way to reduce an individual's environmental footprint. And the consumption of plant-based foods not only reduces greenhouse gases, but also it reduces global acidification and land and water use.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that. Also, it's clearly moving to a new generation of consumers in terms of like more plant-based, less carbon dioxide, and also much more healthy and saving the planet for all of us. That's really good. Thank you. Now, moving on from animal production to plant-based production itself. So we still know that first place, beef production is the one that creates much more carbon dioxide emissions, and then pork, and then chicken. And now in terms of, again, crops, we still know that still producing the whole process, the natural process that it is growing the crops, it also creates carbon dioxide. So if we what would be the solution? That's where my point where I'm going. What would be the solution or what would be the potential solution that we can avoid or we can decrease the carbon dioxide emissions? William, please.
Carol, you always ask me scientific question. Okay, all right, it's okay. From my understanding, okay, the vegetables or plants, they actually need carbon dioxide. Okay, so we actually have a carbon dioxide tank in our farms, okay, in our vertical farms, all right? But coming back to the topic is, yes, we can't avoid emission of carbon dioxide because as you are producing or you're harvesting crops, for example, okay, most of the conventional farms, you need tractors, you need machines, right? You need to have tools to do it, okay? If you look at our farms, okay, or those advanced farms in the US, they actually do robotics stuff, okay, and all are contained in a controlled environment, okay? Every discharge from the farms, vertical farms are actually measured, okay? And before they are discharged to even the emission of the air or even the water that used in the plant, they are all filtered, okay? In that sense, yes, we can control the amount of wastage or carbon dioxide coming out from the vertical farms, okay? And if you talk about food processing, okay, the amount of energy used to process plant-based is less because if you notice, most of the plant-based food okay, are served naturally, right? If you look at a vegetarian meal or even some vegan meals, okay, most of the vegetables are served raw. If you look at my virtual background, all these can be taken raw. Okay, you don't even need to wash it because everything is in an enclosed area. We don't use any pesticide. Okay, we hardly see any inside because it's controlled. Okay, so compared to a conventional farm, okay, everything that comes out are all recorded. So we have sensors, we have a record of all the produce, and we also measure the nutrient mix. Okay, so that we use the right nutrient that produce the right output. Okay, so all these are scientifically proven. Okay, so we just need to test and measure the output. Okay, so in that sense, actually, I'm confident to say, I'm not sure about other farms, but vertical farms, in my opinion, really does contribute less carbon dioxide emission.
Thank you so much, William. Actually, although that question was a little harder, you did it really well. Thank you so much. So following that new solution that is the vertical farms, so in terms of going from individual users to companies and organizations, Hemendra, this question goes for you. How would the vertical farms help in the in decreasing the carbon dioxide that emissions that Will mentioned clearly that we will never be we won't be avoided totally, but it's a fact of decreasing. So how would organizations will help by using vertical farms?
Thanks, Carol. Good question. And I want to say that, even in conventional farming, there's potential to reduce carbon emission, which we should not overlook, because all said and done, 99% of farming in countries like India, Africa, and most of the Southeast Asian countries is open farming, right? So we should look for solutions where we can control carbon emission in conventional farming as well. And there are solutions, right? For example, I can tell you from India experience, we use much more urea than the soil needs, and which causes a lot of emissions, which can be reduced by two interventions. One, measuring the NPK profile of the soil, right? If you measure soil nutrition, you can apply fertilizers in the right proportion, and that's where you can reduce the significant application of urea which is being used in India. And there are a lot of technologies available where you can carry these kits to the to the field, test the soil, and within 30 minutes you have results. There are startups in India like Krishi Tantra, like Arogyam, Easy Krishi, who are providing these kits to the farmer so that their fertilizer applications are optimized. So I think that's one. Secondly, there are a lot of new methods coming up, like urea deep placement. It's a very interesting method, and where you, instead of broadcasting urea on the soil, you prick holes in the soil and put the fertilizer very close to root zone so that it does not travel all over the place, and it's very effectively utilized. So again, there are startups like Distinct Horizon in India which are trying to build machines which can do a urea deep placement and reduce significant use of urea and reduce the carbon emission in that process. So I think we should also look for those techniques which are relevant for open farming, right?
Okay.
And likewise, there are many solutions available to test the water content in the soil, to apply irrigation as much as the plant needs through precision agriculture mechanisms. So I think those all are very, very environmentally centered solutions which can make agriculture much more sustainable than what it is today. So I want to emphasize that point first before moving to vertical farming. Clearly, vertical farming, since it's done in a controlled environment, you do have a lot of control on the inputs that you use, right? Again, I'm not a technical expert, but all I can say that your input utilization in vertical farming or in any controlled environment agriculture, be it be it aquaponics, or be it polyhouses or greenhouses, your input utilization or use of inputs goes down significantly. It can go down as low as 20% of what you need in conventional farming, right? And with that you can produce 5 to 10 times more, so your productivity is far higher. Your output input ratio is significantly higher, maybe 20 times or 30 times. And some startups in the US like Plenty, and they have even gone to a output input ratio of 100 or something like that, which is incredible numbers. So clearly I think these solutions definitely provide a gateway for someone, for consumers, for investors who are looking for environmentally friendly solutions. But the challenge in the solution is the upfront investment. It needs capex.
Right.
Right. Now it really depends. Maybe Singapore doesn't have enough land to for agriculture. So I think vertical farming is the way to go. But when it comes to large countries like China, India, a lot of African countries, I guess, because we still have 160 million hectares of arable land in India itself. So for us, I'm sure vertical farming has a future, but if we want to solve the environmental issues, we need to solve it for the conventional agriculture first, and then look at solutions which are now emerging in terms of vertical farming.
That is actually something very helpful, and mostly for all of the audience watching us from all over the world, because daily basis we see audience coming from Africa, from India, from Europe, and the US and other places as well. What you said makes a lot of sense, because for countries like what you just said, for India, China, with larger extensions of land, to keep creating, growing crops and still finding solutions to decrease the carbon dioxide emission, but also for small places like Singapore or Hong Kong, we can build vertical farms that also helps decreasing the emission of carbon dioxide that we are treating today. Thank you so much for those insights, and actually very helpful for all of the startups watching us right now who are thinking of solutions in this matter. You are still more welcome to join us and present your solutions. We're here to support any solution. Now, moving on to again, following the vertical farming, and this question goes to you, Tushar. So considering Netherlands as the leading country in vertical farming, how do you see India? I mean, Hemendra already addressed a little bit. How do you see from your perspective, how is India jumping or not jumping on the vertical farming?
So Carol, a little bit of perspective about Indian agriculture and how vertical farming can come in. 52% of our land is arable. We are talking about a ratio, a percentage which compares to 17% for the US and 13% for China. So, it's about 1.9 million square kilometers. 52% of our population is dependent on agriculture. And since we have 16% of world population, it means that 8% of world population is an Indian farmer. And these farmers, they have a lot of, they form a big constituency, and they can change governments. So it is a very sensitive subject. Right. It's also a sensitive subject because 20% of Indian farmers, they own 50% of the agricultural land in this country. And also because climate affects vertical farms, the land for farming is not an issue in this country. It can be an issue for countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and maybe the Middle East, where there is less arable land. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there are small land holdings and lack of scale, low productivity, and very low post-harvest value addition. So if you increase cold chains, if you increase food processing units, if you make the farmer understand how post-harvest value addition can bring him the dollar, then those are the issues which need to be sorted out. And a lot of work has happened in this field. We have some new farm laws which have come in, which are revolutionizing the agriculture value chain, eliminating inefficiencies like enabling farm to fork processing, exports, cold storage, and even online trading of agriculture produce. Now there were 450 agri-tech startups in India at the start of this year, and right now there are 600. So this space is growing very hot. Apart from vertical farming, which is one big idea, we have things like demand-led cultivation. We have managed farm networks. We have unique ideas, like there's a company in AgriTech which is converting floral waste into charcoal-free luxury incense products. And these incense products are used in temples out here. So we have farm to consumer companies. One big area is the rural fintech. So, farmers, they have difficulties accessing credit. So, using fintech by treating their farm produce inventory as collateral, a lot of lending opportunities there to these farmers. Then, we have afforestation. We have the example of Japan, where afforestation is very successful. There is a drone company which came to me, which uses drones to throw seeds and does afforestation. Then we have a company which came, which is bringing 100% organically grown fruits and vegetables to doorsteps of the consumer within 12 hours. So, that is a kind of a very challenging, hyper-local, operationally heavy kind of startup. And so, this space is very strong, be it agronomy, be it farm to consumer, be it precision agriculture or life sciences.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Tushar. And yeah, it sounds that more solutions are coming up. And again, just the same call to all of our startups who are watching us right now with various solutions. Everyone is welcome to come meet our investors, pitch to them your idea. We're here to change the world in a better way. So thank you, Tushar, on that. Now, from the perspective to investment, so solutions, startups coming up with what Tushar mentioned, the organic products coming to your doorsteps, and so on. So solutions are there, startups are coming up, but from the perspective of investment, how accessible is it? Let's discuss that in Malaysia. How is the openness that Malaysia is investing in this type of solutions?
Okay, there's a lot of startups providing agri-tech. It has, because Malaysia has been traditional agriculture country. Okay, but those are predominantly in the palm oil, in rubber, okay, are related. There's a lot of increased adoption of IoT in farming. My partner, for example, 5 years ago, he actually advised a group of chili planter, okay, to adopt his solutions, okay, and in less than 6 months, the yield went up by 50 to 100%, depending on the crops. Okay, so for entrepreneurs who are looking into agri-tech, okay, for example, like ourselves, we use all the different components, and we actually buy from different suppliers to create these vertical farms. We use the most advanced LED at the moment, okay, that consume less energy and to produce higher efficiencies of so-called lights. And we use food grade modules, okay. And more importantly is also, how do we measure the input and output? How do we increase yield? Because investors look at ROI, okay? By investing in certain technology or solutions, how does that increase the yield? Okay, so farmers are also in business, okay? Other than the natural causes that they can't control, but if they have the choice, they want with the same amount of land, okay, they want to produce or maximize their production. So how does AgriTech helps? Okay, in terms of the nutrition, okay, how do you measure it? Or in terms of efficient use of resources, because in our farms, we actually measure the humidity, okay, we measure the temperature, okay, and we also try out the different mix of nutrient, okay, for to give you a typical example is by tweaking the nutrient mix, we are able to produce different tastes in our kale. Okay, so some kale taste bitter, some kale taste sweeter. Okay, so for different uses in salad or even in juice, some people prefer it to be sweet or sweeter. Okay, so by using such technology, okay, we can actually meet the demand from our customers. Okay, so we spoke to several restaurants or cafe that specializes in vegetarian and also healthy food. Okay, and we find that there's a specific demand for kale, for example. Okay, and high quality lettuces and also butterhead. You can see and of course bok choy. These three pictures behind me are the top three choice at the moment. Okay, right. So we are also doing a lot of data collection on how to increase or shorten the harvest cycle. Our initial estimate is 5 weeks to our first harvest, but in fact our first harvest is 3.5 weeks. Okay, by cutting 1.5 weeks production time, I mean harvest time, we are able to probably produce 4 more cycles. Okay, that will increase the yield of our farms. Okay, so of course at this moment we are still experimenting. Okay, but as we are growing our farms, we are looking at 90,000 square feet of space. That's why we are raising the funds now. We are able to actually set aside probably 5,000 to 10,000 square feet just to test and experiment with the different crops. Okay, so hopefully in the near future we can use that to actually help farmers, okay, in Malaysia or around the world, okay, on to how to increase our production.
Amazing, thank you so much. And actually, is that kale and spinach the ones that are showing on your picture?
Kale, bok choy, and butterhead.
Ah, okay. They look very yummy already. Thank you, William. Yeah, so I just want to highlight one last thing that William mentioned earlier. So in terms of like problem solution, what startups are here to bring, what is the solution, and also what is the ROI, what is the projection, how you're actually not only helping the planet, but also the investors and helping yourself. So just keep that in mind from the startup perspective. Thank you. So Hemendra, what are the projects from your perspective as an investor? What are the projects that are attractive to you in terms of like what you're looking for in startups, bringing solutions to decrease carbon dioxide emissions?
Good question, Carol, again. So I would say, as an investor, of course, it really depends where you're coming from. I can confess that there are very few investors, not only in India, but across the world, who have a very strong thesis on environment. So actually, we need a lot of investors who can put environment and climate at the center stage. So that's number one. Unfortunately, there are not too many. We need many more. And I think it's not contradictory to a VC model, because in VC models also we look for unit economics. We look for business models which are scalable with optimal, which can optimize the use of inputs, which can improve market linkages, which can improve farm economics, right? I think those are the conventional criteria for anyone investing in the sector. And I find most of the criteria which VCs use conventionally are complementary to the criteria which I would use as an investor, which is really concerned about the environment. So they are not two distinct theses. I think they all converge to the same. But I think bringing in climate angle into the thesis definitely makes you much more aware in terms of integrating those solutions in the startup that you are investing in. They may already have those solutions, but making them aware, right? And kind of if and I think it has to start with investors who are probably more impact focused. That's my feeling. Who really so impact in agri-tech usually means more income for farmer, more employment in rural areas. But I think we can also add this dimension, which is anyway part of the SDG goal, in terms of doing investments in technologies and startups which are more climate resilient, right? So I think that part of the impact is not very well articulated as of now, which I would love to see more and more incorporated in the thesis of investors who are looking at this sector. So I think that's the point number one. Otherwise, of course, as an investor, you look for startups where the teams are committed, which have a passion to drive the business, which don't understand just tech but also understand business.
Right.
That's one big dichotomy. Most of the techies who come into this sector, they find it difficult to build markets. So let's be honest and start building solutions or teams with skills on the business development side. That's extremely critical. uh, and I would say, you have to have a path to profitability. Unfortunately, in many startups, not just in agriculture, across sectors, a lot of guys are focused on the top line, the gross merchandising value, and the valuations are driven by your scale, not by your profitability. So I would recommend to the startups who are listening to this show that have a bottom line focus. Of course, you may have to burn some money initially here and there, but at the end of the day, you have to make money. You can't be surviving forever on VC money. It's not. It's not justice to the capital which someone else is putting on in your model. So build models which are sustainable on its own. You stand on your feet 3 years, 5 years, but you have to make money. Otherwise, there's no point creating scale for the sake of creating scale. So I think that's my message to the startups who are listening to this show. I think that's extremely important. And in agriculture, we have that opportunity. We can create sustainable business models.
It makes a lot of sense, actually. So it sounds to me that the whole efforts in raising funds has various limbs. Not only your passion for what you're doing, the solution to the problem, but also that business education and that business savvy that everybody needs to grow profit and help everyone in that sense as well. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. That many startups or founders, they forget about that. They create something amazing, but they just don't know how to sell. So that's really good thing to keep in mind. Thank you, Hemendra. Tushar, what are the major macro themes in investing space in agri-tech, and how are you seeing developments in this within India and the countries or region nearby?
Thank you, Carol. There are four major macro themes in agri-tech space. The first one is agronomy. So it's basically doorstep delivery of agriculture input products. It's around a 15 billion kind of sector in India. And there is a company, AgroStar, which is doing good work out there. Then the second one is farm to consumer. It works like a consumer brand. It's the largest component of agri-tech space. It's majorly to do with the outputs and market linkages. There's a startup here, Ninja Cart, which is doing good work in tech-driven supply chain platform. And Clover is a company which supplies greenhouse-grown farm produce through B2B and B2C channels. Third one is precision agriculture, as Hemendra was also saying. It's not typical full stack solutions, but specific tech interventions. About like manufacturing and hardware materials, it's around $10 billion sector in India, and a little bit tough to crack. And the startup here is Fasal, which has brought a AI-powered SaaS platform for horticulture. Then the fourth one is life sciences. It's basically about the power of and power and capabilities of big data and data sciences. For example, alternate proteins. So in all these 4 areas, we are seeing a lot of investments and work being done. Again, it's not an easy space to be in. One might talk about fancy IoT sensors being placed on equipment and stuff like that. But, if you look at the macro picture, we have trillions of dollars of subsidies given to agri sector across the world in Europe, US, and other areas. And so their produce, they have big land holdings, and hence their produce is very efficient. To give you a comparison, India has more land area than the US in agriculture, but American exports, agri exports are $140 billion, and Indian agri exports are $40 billion. So, it also gives a picture, but at the same time, it tells of an opportunity, and a lot of work can be done out here. I suspect that when it comes to impact-based investments, again, because this field directly affects livelihoods of and employability and environment. It affects all the 3 things. So a lot of money is going into this, but the money has to chase sustainable business models. So that's where the challenge lies. And burning VC money, sounds good to get market share, but end of the day, unit economics and that matters the most.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you so much, Tushar. That's really insightful over there. Okay, so thank you so much. We're actually getting into the end of our event, and before we say goodbye for now, I have a little game for the 3 of you today. So we're gonna just end with this activity, and then it's pretty much we're closing the event. So I'm gonna give you a word or a phrase related to what we're discussing today, and I just want you to think of just one single word to describe what I am telling you today. So we're gonna take turns. We're gonna go William, Hemendra, Tushar, and in the same order. So be very fast, just one word. Let's do it. All right, so William, one word to describe startups.
Tough.
Hemendra, startups.
Energy.
Tushar.
Crazy.
Wow, okay, that's, it speaks for itself. Thank you so much. Next word, William, solution making.
Problems.
Hemendra, solution making.
Scaling.
Wow. Tushar.
The basic skill.
Okay, all right, let's do one word. Thank you. William, this one is for you. Plant-based food, one word.
Delicious.
Hemendra, I agree with you, by the way. Hemendra, plant-based food.
Sustainable.
Yeah, totally true. Tushar, plant-based food.
The future.
Yep. Pitching. William.
Sorry?
Pitching, as a startup, pitching.
Oh, okay. Prepare.
Hemendra.
Convince.
Wow, okay. Tushar, pitching.
Keep it simple. KISS. KIS. Keep it simple.
That's a good one.
Just one word. Just one word. The last one and the most important one today. William, VCTV.
Awesome.
Thank you. Hemendra, VCTV.
Knowledge.
Yep. And Tushar?
A must.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, the 3 of you, William, Hemendra, and Tushar. It was such an insightful session today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next event. for the audience who's watching us today, thank you so much again for tuning in. And don't leave us, because the next event is coming up in less than 30 minutes. So tune in, learn more, connect with all of our investors today. If you are a startup, reach out in our platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on our website, and just drop us your comments. Dare to pitch, because this is the future. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.